The Ozarks St. Francis National Forest. More than 1.2 million acres that hop and skip across a natural state like the patchwork of a homemade Ozark Mountains quilt. The Ozark Mountains of Arkansas are a physical place, a geological formation, and a cultural landscape where new memories are made and the traces of history can be found underfoot. Here are the stories of people who shaped this landscape in the past and who are managing it for the future. Stories of memoryscape and landscape along the Mulberry River.
We have a big prescribed burn program here on the Ozark National Forest, and so what we do with the helicopter is on these large block burns, usually anything could be as small as 700 acres and larger, we'll bring the helicopter over and we'll use this machine right here and we will start to burn from the helicopter. This ball will catch on fire and it'll start a whole bunch of small fires, and we'll drop thousands of balls out of this machine onto the burn, and they will all burn together, and when it's completed, we'll have a completed burn. We want to improve that land. One thing we could do is to get rid of the dead fuel. The dead things they're gonna burn one way or another. And the hazard is if we leave all this dead fuel out into the woods and a wildfire happens, that wildfire is gonna take all that available fuel at its own pace and burn it, which is gonna be pretty fast and pretty hot. So we have learned to take the opportunity when the fire is not going to burn real hot, that we can go ahead and burn it ourselves. So if we have a wildfire that summer in that same area, there's not going to be as much fuel to burn. When we're talking about fuel, it's anything that can burn. So we have ground fuel, a mid-story fuel, and an upper story fuel. If the fire is already going to stay on the ground, we don't want any of that fuel that could carry it up into the crown of a tree. If there's an area that has not been managed at all for fuel reduction or hardly anything else, and a wildfire comes into it, it could take different levels. It's going to burn very hot, but it may not just stay on the ground anymore. That fire, if it had shrubs and thorns and vines, 6 feet tall, and got into the canopy, the bottom parts of a tree, and that tree was dead, that fire could very easily come from staying on the ground, lift up and get into the crown of a tree. And if there were enough of those trees, we could eventually have a crown fire, big intensity, hot fire. With the prescribed burn, if we burn that same area and a wildfire started outside that area, once it burns into the area we've already burned, the fire is going to stay small because it doesn't have that mid-story anymore. There's nothing to take that fire up into the top of the trees because we burned it. Or we've reduced the fuel, and so it's not going to be as hot as it would have been if we would have done nothing. Smokey does put out the famous "Only You Can Prevent Wildfires," and that's still a message today. Smokey bears a very successful fire prevention campaign. It's 70 years this year Smokey's been around. Smokey is the second most notable character in the world, only behind Santa Claus. So Smokey is very important to us. We still do Smokey programs every year in the area and across the country. And yeah, with Smokey saying "Only you can prevent wildfires" puts a good message, a face on the message that we've been trying to get out to the public for a long time.